to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. I am filming for what I hope will be the last time in my room. If you've seen my last few videos, you know I had an injury that kind of forced me to stay off my feet for the past few weeks. But the end is in sight, and I think the next video we'll be back in our old filming space. But I just finished this book. I could not wait to film it and talk about it with you guys. And that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This is the first Riley Sager book that I've read. I've heard about him for the past few years. He's pretty prolific. He puts out like a book a year and has since I think like 2017 or 16. And they always sound like I would love them, but I just haven't gotten around to checking them out until this year. And let me tell you, this one is a doozy. I'm not sure what I'm going to rate this. I'm still processing all of it. I enjoyed it. Like, I had fun reading this. But there were some times where I was like, excuse me, what? So what we're going to do is we'll do like a sort of simple synopsis. Then we're going to get into some spoilers. But don't worry, I will give you a warning before we talk about anything spoilery, because I don't want to ruin it for you. That's all there is. So let's get on into it. So this book is about a woman named Casey. She is a famous actress. She's also the daughter of a famous actress. And she is out at her lake house because ever since her husband drowned in that lake about 18 months ago, she has become a very troubled alcoholic, like an all-day drinker type alcoholic. And her mom has kind of banished her to the lake house where she can try to pull herself together and get her drinking under control. So now Casey's out there, you know, all day, all night by herself, pretty much, save for a few neighbors she sees here and there. And, you know, it's not going great. It's not going great. Anyway, one day she's sitting outside the house and she's having a drink. And she notices, she's got these binoculars that her husband had purchased at one point. And she's looking out at the water and her neighbors' houses. And she sees somebody in the water and it looks like they're drowning. So she is like, not on my watch, and she runs down, jumps in. She gets to the woman's body, and at first she thinks that she's deceased because there's like nothing going on. But as she's pulling her, trying to swim with her back to the boat, the woman is alive. So she's like, thank God. She pulls them both up into the boat, and then she recognizes this woman as a retired supermodel who lives in the house across her lake with her sort of tech big shot husband. And so they start up a bit of a friendship. They meet for coffee a couple times, once or twice. They get together for drinks. Then all of a sudden, Catherine goes missing. Catherine's husband, Tom, tells Casey, like, oh, it's fine. She went home to New York City. It's all good. Don't worry about her. But Casey's not buying it because the night before Catherine goes missing, Casey is sitting out on her deck with her binoculars and she sees the two of them fighting. So she gets it in her head, Tom has done this. And she decides that she is going to get to the bottom of it. She's going to find out what happened to Catherine. So from there, it just escalates. So it becomes a bit of a mystery. Okay? Also from there, things just go off the rails. So if you don't want spoilers, we're getting close to the time for you to click away. What I will tell you that because what happens with this is you think it's one book and then about halfway through, it becomes a different book, and then right at the very end it becomes a third kind of book, kind of shoved in. You're like, what? So if you like sort of mysteries, a bit of a thriller, but you've got an open mind for different genres, that's all I'll say, give this a read. I can't speak to Riley's other books, if it's similar, I don't know, but like I said, I don't know what I'm going to rate it. I go back and forth between like a 3 or a 4. because I had a ton of fun reading it. It kept me guessing. Even when I was like, what is this? I still had fun with it. So if that sounds like you, definitely check it out. Now, get out of here so we can talk about the spoilers. Okay, so how I said it's one book and then it turns into another kind of book. What I mean by that is suddenly halfway through the book, so for the first half it's a little slow, it's a little repetitive. It's, you know, she's drinking, she's watching, she's drinking, she's watching, a lot of that. Then all of a sudden it becomes a paranormal story, kind of a ghost story out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, all right. So as I said, Casey thinks that Catherine's husband, Tom, had something to do with her disappearance. And she's like breaking into his house, going through his things, the whole 9 yards. Eventually, Casey, while following Tom, finds out that he has Catherine tied up in one of the other vacant houses around the lake. Like, their neighbors were only there for the summer. It's now October. That house is empty. So Tom has her tied up in the basement. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, no, you don't want to go down there. Don't listen to her. This is for her own good. And Casey's like, oh, what do you mean? And Tom's like, she's crazy. There's something wrong with her. No. And Casey's like, well, just let me talk to her. It's fine. Just let me talk to her. And Tom's like, you have 5 minutes and I'm locking you in there with her. Don't untie her because she's dangerous. And Casey's like, what in God's name is he talking about? So in she goes, talking to Catherine. And Catherine tells her that she has been possessed by Casey's dead husband, Leonard. And she's like, what? And so earlier on in the story, when they were all gathered around for wine, one of the other neighbors of the house, of the lake, Eli, he came over and was telling them all kind of about how the lake has a reputation for being haunted. That if a soul dies in the lake, it stays there. So Len is now telling her that since he died in the lake, when she was drowning, his spirit went into her body. And Casey's like, did it though? How about you tell me something to prove it? Something only we would know. And he's like, in Catherine's body, says, well, what about that you killed me? So up until this, we think that he drowned. Now, there's also been a subplot going on about how 3 girls in the neighborhood have gone missing over the years. And so we find out now, once we're getting sort of the flashback of why Casey killed her husband. We're getting the flashback that she found out 18 months ago that her husband was the one who's killing these girls that were going missing. So she drowned him. So all this is going on, and the whole missing girls thing had been kind of like a red herring. Like, we thought she was still trying to find out who had done that, but the whole time she knew her husband had done that. So now her husband's in Catherine. There's this whole situation going on, and it's so hard to even talk about this book because there's so much going on. There's a whole other character I haven't even mentioned yet. Duncan was his name, I think. I'm not even going to get into that because... Oh, wait, no, his name wasn't Duncan. What was his name? Let me just see here. Not Duncan. His name was Boone. And, so we're not even going to get into that because there's not enough time in the day. But, so she unties Catherine / her husband, even though Tom explicitly told her not to. Then there's this whole situation where she's like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice myself. He can come inside me and then I'll drown the both of us. But Catherine saves her so that can't happen. So then I guess her husband sort of jumped out of her. I don't even know. So then we're like, okay, great. So Tom wasn't trying to kill his wife. Awesome. Then the very end comes along. And now, all of a sudden, she's like, okay, we got it all sorted out. I'm okay. Catherine's okay. Len's out of here. She's told the police that Len, her husband, was the one who had killed the girls. Everything's cluing up, and then all of a sudden, she's sitting out on her deck, and Tom's there. And he's trying to kill her. Because he's mad, because she's foiled his plans to kill his wife. So first, let's just recap this for a second. So first, we think Tom's the bad guy. But of course, you know that's not going to be it, because that'd be too obvious. So first we think Tom's the bad guy. We think it's like a mystery, a domestic thriller, if you will. Next minute, it's a paranormal story about a haunted lake and spirit possessions. Then boom, right at the very last second, we're back to it being a domestic thriller, and it was Tom all along. What are the odds that you are plotting and planning to kill your wife? Then she gets possessed by a ghost. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with this. I didn't hate it by any means. Even every time when I'd be like, what do you mean? I was having a great time. So I think I might give it a 4 just because I had a lot of fun. I liked how it was written. Aside from it being a little repetitive at the beginning, I thought it was very compulsively readable. And it was a lot of fun. But the story was a bit out there. So I don't know, are all of his stories like that? Like, are they just every possible stereotype from like mysteries and thrillers just kind of tossed in like that? Or are they usually a bit more contained, more... Because this was all over the place. But like I said, I didn't hate it. I had a lot of fun. I'd read other things by him. But yeah, it was almost like it was so wild, it almost read like satire. But I don't think it's meant to be. But it almost felt like satire. And I loved it. So there you go, you guys. Those are my thoughts on The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I definitely recommend checking it out if you want to have a good time. But yeah, just go in knowing it's all over the place and a little over the top. Like I said, it almost reads like satire. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I had fun. But I wouldn't recommend it unless you want that sort of over the top feel. Anyway, in the comments down below, let me know if you have read this, if you liked it. Also, let me know, are his other books like this? Would you say they're... What would you say? Just tell me. Just tell me about them. And let me know which one in particular you would recommend, and maybe I will check that out. Anyway, I've got a new tripod coming soon, so we can just get everything sorted out. But I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you again real soon. Bye!